another edition of HBCU Sports Live, coming to you in the daytime this time, a mid-afternoon show. We got a full cast today. I'm Kendrick Marshall. That's Chris Stevens, repping the Sixers. Brandon King, repping Tennessee State. And Jared Hoffman, who always reps Bowie State. Before we get started, always please subscribe and follow to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media, on Twitter, currently known as X, Instagram, and on our Facebook page. If you'd be so inclined, you can please donate at our website at hbcusports.com/donate. Don't forget to hit the like button on this video. So today, fellas, we're going to talk bowling. I think for the first time ever on our show, we're going to discuss a non-revenue sport for a special reason. Because over the weekend, a story broke on social media regarding a bowler from FAMU named Shamaria Johnson. She alleged that she was kicked off the team because she wanted to concentrate on her studies as opposed to going to bowling practice. And this story got picked up by the Roden Martin Show. Got picked up other places online and elsewhere too. A very bizarre story that we'll get into here in great depth. But this bowler alleged that she was dismissed from the team because she decided, hey, like I care a lot more about my education than I do bowling. And there's been a lot of back and forth between her and the parents of other bowlers. The school made a statement in regards to this incident, I guess, case. Tiffany Don Sykes over the weekend, you see here on our screen, came out with a statement that reads, in December 2023, Coach Capri Howard, who's first-year bowling coach for FAMU, dismissed the student athlete who was Shamaria Johnson from the bowling team for reasons supported by NC2A bylaws. Though it's always challenging to see our student athletes dismissed, I support the decision by Coach Howard as the proper procedures were taken before dismissal. And pretty much Tiffany Don Sykes says, like, we look into it through the rules, and we found out, yeah, like this could possibly happen. Nothing was illegally done on our part. So they're able to move forward with her not on the team anymore, as well as other players who were also allegedly dismissed from the team for supporting this effort for their academics to be more important than athletics. So, fellas, starting with Chris, because I know he got a lot to say about this. What do you guys make of this entire situation?
We are in the space now where we literally have to think of Florida A&M as the old daytime soaps that our grandparents and our parents used to watch, like, One Life to Live, As the World Turns, whatever that show is with the homie of Victor Newman. I can't remember the name of the show off the rip, but anybody that watches this, anybody's watching this, here's the name Victor Newman, you know which one I'm talking about. But yeah, it's definitely As FAMU Turns right about now. And it's very frustrating. Has already been through the fire. I mean, we talked about the shenanigans with the football hearings last week. There's still some shenanigans going on about that happened over the weekend. But I genuinely tend to side with the student part of student athlete on this, because I'll never forget when I was doing previews for SWAC Media Day and SIAC. I can't remember which coach said it, but there was a coach that said, you're going to be a former athlete longer than you are an athlete. And if Miss Johnson chose to study for finals or whatever the case may be, because, this is around the time when students really are like in the library cramming, getting all this information in so they can not be on academic probation. Because I can be honest with y'all, I was on academic probation once upon a time at Delaware State, and it was not a pleasant place to be. So you want to get your grades in order, whether you're a student athlete or just a regular student. So I tend to side with the student on this, and I think what's probably going to undermine AD Sykes even more is the fact that Coach Howard is younger than every single person on this entire panel. She graduated from Jackson State, shouts out to Kendrick, in 2021, and she literally is 2 years later the head bowling coach of a Division I university, and that's not coming at Coach Howard. Maybe she's very good as a coach, but you really don't want to have an inexperienced coach trying to throw her weight around with players who are in the same age bracket as her still, and that is something that is probably going to go against AD Sykes along with the other you know you know the witch hunt that is being presented in her face at the moment. So I just say that if the parents are right about the awards not being the financial uh, awards not being handed out yet, then that is a bad look. But if parents are capping about that, then it's just another instance of AD Sykes facing some undue pressure that really does not belong in her face.
Yeah, before I go to Chris, excuse me, before I go to Jared and Brandon, um, I'm gonna play a video of Samoria Johnson appearing on the Roland Martin show to kind of explain kind of what led up to this particular situation with her and Capri Howard.
For our final assignments and final projects. Because at Florida A&M, a lot of my colleagues and myself included, we don't just have finals week exams. We have final projects, we have group projects, we have papers that we need to turn in before actual finals week. And so the week before, on November 29th, the week of November 29th, my teammates were texting the coach and letting her know, hey, I have this project, I have this presentation, I have this study group, I won't be able to come into practice. And for the rest of my teammates, she told everybody, okay, no problem, good luck. And I texted her on November 29th and I said, hey, coach, I won't be able to come into practice on Monday, December 4th, because I have 2 final papers due that I will need to work on. Unlike the rest of my teammates, I got no response, get a text message back. And instead, she sent us an email where she was stating that we needed to manage our time better, and being a student athlete, we should be able to balance our schoolwork and our academic work. So having homework or studying is not an excuse to miss practice.
I see Chris's expression. Brandon, what do you make of what you just heard? Looks like Brandon might have dropped off. Jared, your thoughts on this?
I don't, I don't know. I don't know. I'm confused. I need. This is a story that you need. This is definitely you need both sides of the story on this situation, because I don't. You got kicked off the team because you wanted to study. That is that what I'm supposed to understand about the situation? There's got to be more to this. There's got to be more, because there's no way you send a email or text or whatever it was to your coach that you need more study time, and she doesn't respond to you, and the next thing you know, you're kicked off the team. And I'm paraphrasing. I'm not saying that's what she said, but that this is definitely a situation where I need more from AD Sykes, more of an explanation, and I need more of an explanation, especially from the bowling coach, because I don't have enough on the situation to have an opinion on it. Because if I just go off her perspective, then I'm thinking that's not a valid reason to kick a person off a team. So I can't really give too much on this, because I don't have enough to say who's right or wrong in the situation.
Yeah, somebody asked in the chat, like, we need to hear from the coach. Capri Howard hasn't made a statement from the situation at all. Only statement from the school is from AD Sykes that we read earlier about the situation. It looks like for them, it's open and shut case. Parents, spoke to HBCU game day over the weekend and talked about how the coach was kind of dismissive of all their concerns, didn't try to bond with them, didn't try to connect with them at all. Um, Felt like the players were being disrespected. There was one incident reporting in a Tallahassee Democrat that during one bowling tournament, the coach had made a rule that the players couldn't sit down in between matches as staff the entire time, which seems kind of ludicrous. I mean, like, what are you gonna do in the bowling match if you're not bowling? You're gonna sit down, right? We all been bowling before when y'all sat down in between our sets, right?
Yeah.
That seemed like a horrible allegation, if it's true. Other players talked about like how like they would send emails and messages to the coach to try to connect with them and with her, and it never really resulted in anything. There was reports that the coach would like not let them get to choose where they want to go to eat after matches or on road trips. They had no autonomy at all. So a lot of pretty much damning allegations against Capri Howard and the FAMU bowling staff. I'm gonna bring Brandon King right back up. He had to hop off for a minute. Brandon, based on what you heard and kind of what you know about the situation, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, when I first saw, the situation emerge even on Script Show, the first thing I thought of this, it reminded me of, if you all are familiar with the situation with the Grambling volleyball team a few years back, fairly recently.
Yeah.
And that was like the first thing I thought of, where you have a situation where obviously you have a player, and in that situation, players being dismissed from a team for reasons that on the surface, at least as far as we know, there seems to be the math ain't mathing on why she was released. Secondly, and this was after when the statement came out. This is probably the last thing that AD Sykes needs, that FAMU athletics needs right now, because the optics are really bad. Even if the dismissal was allowed per the NCAA bylaws, this is the last thing you need at a time where you are feeling the pressure from alumni and everything in terms of your job performance. This is probably the last thing that you need. And then it's a bad look for obviously the bowling coach and even the bowling program. So it's bringing attention to things for the wrong reasons. And I'm gonna kind of piggyback off what Chris said. I tend to side with the student and student athletes, and that brings me to another point, because if we're saying so many of the times that they are truly, it's student athlete, and I myself have been guilty of calling them athlete students, but if we're truly going to say that, then it's almost, well, how dare you put your studies ahead of this bowling practice? How dare you do that? To want to even to get your education, which by the way is the reason that you're there. So she's doing that, and then you're going to dismiss her for the very thing that she's there to do, and just like was alluded to earlier, the great if whether even if she's bowling 300s every game, if she's got a 1.4 GPA, she's not going to be eligible. So kudos to her, at least for recognizing and putting the main thing. So this is just another a bad situation all around. And I think the show that you were referencing, Chris, I believe it was The Young and the Restless. My granny used to watch it every day, so I'm pretty sure it's The Young and the Restless.
Gotcha. Okay. See, I just know homeboy's name is Victor Newman, and people of all ages swear by Victor Newman. That was just the name that popped into my head. Kendrick, you're on mute, buddy.
I think you're muted, brother.
Oh, it might be his microphone.
Y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, so like kind of Brandon alluded to, this something kind of similar happened at Grambling State, where the volleyball coach got rid of the entire team, allegedly. And is this a case of like these things, urban sports, where like there isn't the same amount of attention, isn't the same amount of scrutiny, and coaches don't have that like eye watching them where they can feel like they can treat their athletes this way, or this is just like another isolated incident, Chris?
Oh, absolutely. It's because, the non-revenue sports, the Olympic sports get, left on the back burner because we've seen football and basketball coaches, get under fire at colleges really quickly for even the most mundane of things. So if we're talking about, the bowling coach, being disrespectful to our players, and then the volleyball coach at Grambling just go ahead and say, y'all don't 15, 20, y'all don't come back without any real good reason for doing so, then yeah, it's gonna, take a while for that stuff to come to the surface because I don't and part of it, I want to give most ADs and administrations the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to say it's intentional because we all know that, we're all HBCU grads. We all know that, as my grandmother used to say, you robbing Peter to pay Paul. You got to try to, get in where you fit in with respect to time, attention, funding, all of these things. So I want to give ADs and admins the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, there needs to be a system in place where each sport can get the proper attention, so no player feels slighted, no coach feels their autonomy or authority is undermined, and that's the only way you can probably see, less of these incidents happening because yes, they are happening with these non-revenue and Olympic sports because nobody's really paying attention.
At a university, at Jackson State University, long time ago, we had athletes who would have practice and have classes and had to balance those. We actually had athletes who had classes during practice. We even have some athletes who had to leave practice early to go to class, and the coaches understood. They completely understood. They said, "Well, academics comes first here. We're not going to ostracize you or punish you for having to go to class to take care of school responsibilities." But I wouldn't understand like why a coach would be so against it. And apparently, this happened like during the dead period of year when they're not supposed to even have like bowling practice or any sports going on at that time. So the timeline really doesn't kind of like match up with all that. And not just Samoria Johnson was kind of like ostracized. Other players on the team, kind of were too. Some actually like left the team over this, had their scholarships revoked. The school says they got them reinstated, but the parents in certain interviews they mentioned that they haven't been yet. So it's definitely he said she said they're going on. Jared, like what do you make like what should FAMU do, or what should be done to FAMU in this situation?
Well, there's not much that we can do with FAMU until the full story comes out. That I think they either have to send a cease and desist or they have to tell their story to clear their name, because right now they are under fire for everything that's going on with football. And now they have to deal with the fallout that is coming from the bowler and the bowlers' families that are telling their stories of why their children were kicked off the team. So it's not much they can do other than send out some cease and desists or tell their story, because this is going to stay in a news loop as long as people continue to tell her story, because I doubt this is going to be her last interview. This is not going to be her last interview. She's going to continue to talk about it. There's probably going to be more details that come out. There's probably going to be other bowlers that come out and tell their perspectives on the situation. So they either have to get control of the narrative. No, there's no other option. They have to get control of this narrative, because they're under fire right now because of the football coach search, which we have already reported, how that's progressing. So they have to do something to get control of this narrative, because they're not looking favorable at all at the moment.
Yeah, I mean we're talking about a bowling team that has one of the highest team GPAs on campus for all sports. And Samoria Johnson, she has a 3.7 GPA, or had one when she was at FAMU, a 3.7 GPA. So we're not talking about some athletes who don't take their studies very serious, not seriously at all. These are high achieving young women. They do well in the classroom. And Johnson was even, I think this past season, like SWAC bowler of the week. So she's a good bowler in addition to being a good student too. So like Jared said, like FAMU is fighting an uphill battle when it comes to like trying to win the PR war and all this. But to put a bow on this topic, Chris, final thoughts on what you think should happen moving forward?
Honestly, Jared said it all. We really don't know until Florida A&M administration, whether it be AD Sykes, whether it be President Robinson, whether it be Coach Howard, step to the fore, get on that podium or that pulpit and say, this is how it went down. This is what's going on. This is why this player was dismissed. This is why her teammates were dismissed. And that's going to be that. But until they do so, or Jared said, start sending out those C and Ds, that's where we are at this point. I mean, it's gonna be a bunch of he said, she said, but what does God say? Until we actually figure out, the bottom, get to the bottom of this. And I mean, again, we've talked about it, in so many terms, all four of us. This is just another bad look for Florida A&M that the university does not need at this point in time.
Yeah, another crisis FAMU does not want to be a part of. As Chris mentioned with the football team. Ironically enough, we're going to transition to that topic next. So over the weekend, the FAMU search committee and the search firm held a meeting on Sunday to go over candidates for the position. And turned out everybody wants this job to coach the FAMU Rattlers. As many, I think it was reported, as many as 45 coaching candidates names solicited for this position, and 5 of those names actually were submitted to AD Sykes and President Robinson for further review. We don't know who those names were because they don't want to compromise the process of the search. And one thing I found in the reporting on this that was very interesting is that FAMU COO, Dr. Donald Palm, mentioned that they really overachieved in the number of folks who were interested in this particular position, and they were excited to have 45 candidates. Now, I'm pretty sure with the amount of time that's gone by since Willie Simmons took that Duke job, they're not going to talk to all 45 people because time is just ticking and next Sunday is around the corner. But to have that much interest in the job, we thought, they would stay in house or pull from a pool of very few candidates. To have this many candidates wanting this job speaks to just how attractive the job is, how many coaches actually think this job is something they want, and the administration they want to be a part of too, ironically enough. So, fellas, what do we make of the interest in this FAMU job, starting with Brandon?
It goes to show that, and you kind of touched on it earlier in your opening comments, even with all the uncertainty and all the turmoil that surrounds not only the football program, but with the bowling situation we just touched on, you could say all of athletics. This is still a very desired, a very coveted job. And the fact that you have that many people put in over that period of time. So the hope is that you've got a fairly diverse and highly qualified pool of candidates. So now it's the matter of going through them in picking the best one. Hopefully, some of those names include Quinn Gray, KJ Black, and the coach at Valdosta State. But I will digress from that point. And if you've got that many right now, in all seriousness, you've practically got the pick of the litter. And so now you've just really got to go in and do whatever due diligence that you need to do. And also make sure that the money people are on board with this to make the best hire so that you can not only move the program forward, but also try to somewhat salvage, this particular offseason. So this is a extremely critical time for athletic administration and working with the search committee, and all of the word that we've heard more over the past 2 weeks than I think I've ever heard stakeholders in terms of making this decision. So we're all going to be watching to see what they do, because Right now, everybody in terms of the decision makers, the focus is on all of them, and so they're every move that they make is going to be watched and scrutinized, right, wrong, or indifferent. So they are on the clock right now.
Jared Hoffman, what do you make of just the amount of interest in this job, considering everything that we know about what's the administration has been going through to try to get to this point?
I mean, I wouldn't say that this is unexpected. I think Florida A&M is one of the most well-known historically black colleges in the country. You know, this is one of the most successful football programs in all of FCS football, let alone HBCU football. So I'm not surprised there's this much interest in the position, but I feel like it's a blessing and a curse because you're losing out on all of the assistant coaches who have already left, and you they who probably already saw the writing on the wall once Sean Gibbs was announced as a candidate for the position, when players and many of the Florida A&M community were advocating for an in-house hire. So I'm pretty sure many of the assistant coaches and the players have seen the writing on the wall, which is why many of the guys who committed an early signing day have now decommitted and gone elsewhere. So you're behind the eight ball in terms of recruiting, but at least you're showing that people still have faith in Florida A&M and still are holding on to the culture that they have built all of these years. So I don't think it's much of a surprise that they are gaining this much interest in the position. It's just now they have some tough decisions ahead, and whoever comes in will have a lot of work to do immediately, as soon as they get into the office.
Let me ask you this, Chris. You think because it seems like that FAMU isn't going with Cozy or Roll, the two popular choices, at least in-house, right away, does that mean they're going to hire somebody from outside the family, if you will?
If you will, word to the American Dream, Dusty Williams. I don't want to say that it's a given, but it's getting close to being a given at this point, because number one, I saw a Twitter follower of mine, shouts out to Kid Cyrus. He said that feels like this whole coaching search is like in this committee is a way to undermine the AD, because Tiffany Sykes, like it or not, had her pick, a pick that was apparently approved by President Robinson, and people absolutely lost their collective bodily functions over it. So now we're back to square one again. And as someone pointed out in the chat, that this search is already off to a dumpster fire of a start, because they've been told that you can't, the committee's been told that you can't be out there putting names out there, and people have already been like, saying names without actually saying names. So it's like this search is already tainted enough. So if it's not Cozy, if it's not Roll, then it has to be a slam dunk, home run, hat trick, top of the chart, billboard smash. Because if not, then it's just going to give the Florida A&M stakeholders. Oh my God! Can I just say this real quick? I hate the word stakeholders. I'm sorry. I can't dig it. I can't dig it. It's just safer to say alumni base, community, family. I hate the word stakeholders. I just want to put that out there. But yeah, if the FAMU stakeholders are not on board with this hire, then it is going to be more trouble ahead for AD Sykes and President Robinson.
Yeah, I don't know if it's being undermined per se. Is that, like, as we kind of went over in previous shows, the issue between Tiffany Don Sykes and the president and stakeholders, I'm using that word again, is lack of communication. People don't know what's on the up and up. People don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And like when you solicit money to try to retain a coach, that as I tried to do with Willie Simmons, you have to go back to those same people and say, like, here's what we're doing with this money, number one, and here's like what we're gonna do in order to find a new football coach. Apparently, for FAMU stakeholders, that wasn't done to the extent that they thought was satisfactory enough. That's why we're here, because Tiffany Don Sykes, she suggested a search firm. And the search committee was suggested because she wanted to, I guess, go through the proper channels of alumni and everybody else, just make the process as transparent as possible. So it was maybe her misstep initially not to have a search committee the first time, or maybe not hire from within. But like I've always been of the thought, as much as the players want to coach, I don't think a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds should be that influential on who their next coach is, considering number one, it's a very important business decision for the university to make. And number two, a lot of those players won't be around by the time that coach's contract ends. So if that head coach you want is installed and he fails, that's not going to be on the players or the stakeholders. That's going to be on the AD who hired that person. The players don't want to get any of the blame for that if it goes awry. So while I appreciate the players wanting their saying like who their coach should be, it's a decision above their pay grade, if you will, because as you know, players are hopping the portal for anything. But coach they don't like, playing time issues or what have you. So trying to make this decision on the whims of some student athletes who are important to the program nonetheless shouldn't be like the overriding factor. But Jared, let me hop to you, man. Who you think should be the next FAMU head coach based on what we all know from some rumored names out there?
Well, I'm going to steal what Chris said. If it's not Roll or Cozy, it better be a slam dunk, home run, touchdown, what else? Hockey goal, whatever you want to call it, hat trick, all of that in one. I'm going to throw a name out there, and I need you to keep an open mind. Ray Lewis.
Was he one of the 45 who applied, you think?
Hey, it's a guy who knows the Florida area. I think it's a guy that will get the Florida A&M community excited. He's because at this point, you eat. In all seriousness, you either have to go with a coach that the alumni, not the alumni association. We don't want to use the S word, but the investors for Florida A&M. You want somebody that the players will feel like they can learn from and that they can grow with. You have to get somebody that either they want or somebody that you know will get the most out of them, not just as individual athletes, but as as students as well. And if it's not Ed Reed, who I'm pretty sure wants that job, and I'm pretty sure is one of them 45. You gotta go get somebody that is well known, that is well versed in the Florida A&M community, and most importantly, has those credentials to where it is undeniable that they are deserving for this position. So if it's not one of these in-house hires, you've pigeonholed yourself to where you have to go out and get one of those quote unquote celebrity coaches. So if you can't get Ray, or you can't get Ed, or you can't get any other Florida-based football legend to be your coach, it better be Roll or Cozy, because you put yourself in a position to where you have to get somebody that is co-signed at this point.
Now, Chris, you wrote when Willie Simmons announced he was leaving FAMU for Duke that the first call they should make is to Fred McNair. Fred McNair don't have a job right now, so I'm guessing he's on that Rolodex, as Deion Sanders said.
If he's not, then it's a foolish decision. We've talked up Fred McNair for God knows how long, probably because a lot of us just feel sorry for him because the way the Texas Southern Board of Regents ran that thing like SpongeBob and Patrick running the Krusty Krab. It literally just was like, absolutely ridiculousness from November until the time they announced Chris Dishman as the head coach. So Coach McNair, I feel like deserves a shot. The only question is, like, again, would he want it? Because he's walking into another. Well, we can't use Hornets Nest because that belongs to my alma mater, Delaware State University. But whatever tenement rattlers call home, I guess they might live in the bushes somewhere or something. So he's walking. He might be walking into the rattler bush at this point, because if he thought that those Texas Southern people were crazy, them Tallahassee folks, they as my grandma, I love to quote my grandmother, if y'all don't know. She used to say, a few fries short of a Happy Meal. It seems like that fan base is a few fries short of a Happy Meal. So McNair would really be walking into a crazy situation. But like Jared said, at this point, if it's not Cozy or Roll, then you might have to call Ray Buck up. I mean, or you might have to give Ed Reed up. Just make sure you got all the buildings clean before Ed comes. If you don't, if that man sees one if that man see one Gatorade bottle, if he sees one energy bar wrapper, then AD Site's gonna have hell to pay. So just make sure you clean all your stuff up before Ed comes through.
Yeah, Ed Reed does not like his office unkempt or any buildings unkempt. I mean, Ed Reed did a whole tour of the Bethune-Cookman campus when he was head coach for 23 days, or however long it was, to point out all their flaws.
Whoa, technically, he wasn't head coach yet.
Technically. You're right. He wasn't head coach yet. He was making decisions on probation. That's what he was doing. Yeah, but Brandon, man, like, y'all went through a head coach at Tennessee State a few years ago that was not this dramatic as it is at FAMU. Who do you think the Rattlers should go with for their coach?
Well, it's already been said. The players have spoken and spoken again on who they want. And if you and it's like you said, if you don't go in that direction, it's got to be a grand slam hire. And Trey Oliver's probably not walking through that door. So you've probably got to really, if you're not going to go on staff, you've got to go the celebrity coach route. And I mean, was Andre Johnson one of those 45? Again, a guy with Florida ties. So I think it's already been said. If you don't go that route, because if they pick the wrong guy that they don't like, it will be bedlam down there on the highest of 7 hills. And I'm going to be honest, a morbid curiosity I have to see for Ray Lewis, not Ray Lewis, but for Ed Reed to get this job. It's a morbid curiosity. I would just kind of want to see what would happen. How mad would that make the Bethune people? I would just that maybe that's the bit of the dysfunction in me that just kind of wants to see that for a little bit. But this is a pivotal time, and like it's already been said, so they better get this right. And I'm really starting to think that, I don't know, is it going to, sorry, that's a bell. That if you would think, if you were going to make an in-house hire, would you have already done it by now? So I'm really tend to think they're going to go outside of the current coaching tree. But whoever comes in, if it's not going to be a big name, my goodness, they've got to hit the ground running because of what they have lost. And we touched on it, but losing Coach Rez was a huge loss, because that brother, he was on top of it in terms of recruiting. And a coach many times is only good as the talent that you have in those rooms, and he was able to get a lot of top tier talent in that room. And so whoever's going to step in to that shoes, they're either going to have to be a ace crack recruiter themselves, or they're going to have to know somebody that's going to have to replenish not only what you may lose this year, but going forward, because it's like Jared said, they're already behind the 8 ball in terms of not having this situation in place. And so the wrong hire could cause even more players to hit that portal. So yeah, if they don't make that right decision, this is going to be a long few years down in Tallahassee. But yeah, you know what? They really should. What's Coach Jackson down at Valdosta State? If he's not in that 45, then I don't know what to do.
Yeah, Jared. Our guy Stephen Campbell in the chat, man. He really perplexed you. You said Ray Lewis and Ed Reed.
Yeah, I knew that was gonna be outlandish.
But Ken Rashad a few weeks ago, the last time Ray Lewis's name came up with a swag job, warned everybody, don't talk to Ed Reed, stay away from him, treat him like a plague, because he has ill intentions apparently. Hey man, like I'm all for like anarchy and chaos. Like if y'all want to hire Ed Reed, it'll be good for business, man. Seriously. the Instagram rant that man would go on would be epic.
Well, real quick though, if you remember about that situation, a lot of Bethune-Cookman players were very upset that he wasn't retained as head coach. So I know we joke about him wanting every HBCU head coaching job that opens up, but if we can say that the players did want him in Daytona Beach. So whatever he was doing, it had an impact on those players as they were very upset about him not being retained. So he has the backing of at least the Bethune-Cookman players who wanted him there. So who knows what those Florida A&M players would think about having him in the locker room.
Yeah, you're right, Jared. A lot of those Bethune-Cookman players did say they wanted Ed Reed to be their coach. He gave that very emotional address to the team after he wouldn't be the coach anymore, and was doing all that cussing and carrying on. And the players were like crying and they were like highly upset that Ed Reed wasn't their coach anymore. Some of them hit the transfer portal. Some of them on the Roland Martin show. Roland Martin seems to be like the insider for black college sports. We gotta get to the bottom of that. But anyway,
we really.
No, not really. We don't got to get to the bottom of that. No, but like me personally, and I'm not paid to make these decisions, I would stay in house just to keep the peace, man. The players won't either cozy a role. A lot of the alumni won't cozy a role, and just to get the process over and have as smooth a transition as possible going into the fall, I just keep up with the continuity, man. Like. It's been 21 days since Willie Simmons decided to leave FAMU. Most searches don't last this long, except for Texas Southern. But I would just say, like, hey, like, let's just keep the ball rolling in the same direction it's been going in since Simmons left and have Cozier role take over and see how it works out. It's going to be a risk no matter who's hired as coach, whether it's an internal hire or it's somebody from outside. And there's no one right way to do this. There are people who are in the camp of, hey, we have to do a nationwide search. Let's find the best coach. That always don't work either. In-house don't work either. So you're going to be rolling the dice no matter which way you go. But Chris, man, like if they do go with James Cozy or Billy Roll, how much pressure would it be on them to keep this momentum going from what happened last season?
Pressure to me feels relative at this point because if you're the people's choice, then the people are going to have your back, or they should, because we all know that we all know somebody who wants to have a say in everything, but don't ever contribute nothing, to anything. Like we've all had that person that has suggested where to go to eat, but when the bill comes, they looking around the table, like, okay, so who's got my half, So if these folks truly want James Colsey and or Billy Roll, then they really should get behind them, and I believe that they will. So I don't think there's any undue pressure. I think the only pressure at this point right now is to go out and find some players, because again, National Signing Day is later right around the corner. The portal, if it hasn't closed yet, it's closing pretty doggone soon. So you really have to get on the ball if you are Colsey or Roll or whatever, and just getting that, just getting them in. I think it'll probably just be a feeling of relief for either one of those guys if they are the one, or if they are the chosen one, because like, okay, I went through all types of hell and high water to get this. Now I'm ready to get to work. So it's either way, it's going to be a tough year for FAMU. Oh my God, living on a main street. Sorry about that siren, folks. But Yeah, either way, Florida A&M, if they hire Cozy or Roll, right now it's just a matter of keeping who you have and trying to get enough into retain the SWAC championship, which I don't. It doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. I mean, I could be wrong, but all the foolishness is probably worn down on their status as a favorite to repeat.
Yeah, we talked about this. Oh, man. Yeah, we talked about this like when Willie Simmons first left. Would FAMU still compete for a SWAC championship? And kind of the consensus among us was like, yeah, because they'll find a good coach quickly to replace him, and so have a lot of their core guys there. But now, since this search has kind of dragged on, a lot of guys to the transfer portal. Other guys are threatening to go in the transfer portal, and National Signing Day is a what couple of weeks away. So no recruiting, at least from the head coach, is going on for that at least. So they very well may be behind the eight ball in terms of like putting a competitive team together to make another run at it. So Brandon, I ask you, as someone who has knowledge and covered these things for a minute, you think they should stick in house or go outside the box a little bit? But before you answer that, Brandon, like somebody, his name is Peasy. I put this on the screen here. He says since they didn't let Tiffany hire who she wanted, I'm knowing she won't hire who they want her to hire out of spite. Now, if you're an athletic director and you get paid what she gets paid, and people are already upset with you over nominating a candidate that they didn't want, you think knowing all that and everything that's been happening with the comments from social media, comments elsewhere about her, about the job she's been doing, about the no confidence vote that the National Alumni Association gave, you honestly think she's going to hire somebody out of spite and further her reputation and further create discord between her and alums? I don't think it's realistic. She's going to hire the best person for the job because her job will be on the line if she doesn't. So some people got to be like really careful about like the assumptions they make about the motivations of these administrators. Not everyone's out to bring down the program. Tiffany Don Sykes is a first year's athletic director under a lot of pressure. She got to make a really big decision, and I think she wants to make the right one. I don't think she wants to make a decision that's going to set back the football program and hurt her reputation at the same time either. But Brandon, go ahead, man. I'm sorry about that.
No. I think if you go in house looking at Coach Rowe and Coach Colsey, and here's the thing that came to me as I talked. If my memory serves me correctly, Coach Rowe had previously kind of was in retirement already. So if you go with Rowe, you've got to already either have somebody on staff who's going to be planned to succeed him, or you've got to have somebody in that Rolodex that's kind of like a coach in waiting. So if you're going to go if you're going to go in house, then I might look at Cozy just from a longevity standpoint. Both of them are excellent coaches, but I think if you go in house just from the age standpoint, or looking at how long that Coach Rowe may or may not be there, just because the fact that he's already retired, then Cozy is the way to go. The players already have endorsed him, so that would probably be, in terms of a hire in-house, not only the path of least resistance, I think, but that sets you up for not necessarily, if things go well, you're not already kind of looking at, okay, when he retires in 4 or 5 years or whatever, who's up next. That kind of allows you to, in terms of program leadership, to kick that can down the road a little further.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how it all turns out in the end. A decision gotta, I think, in my mind, be coming down this week because they don't want this to linger longer into January and in early February. That's when their sign day is going to come and be here in short order. But we're going to transition to basketball now. There were a lot of really good college basketball games played over the weekend. A lot of tight conference matchups. One of which was an historic one. Norfolk State head coach Robert Jones picked up his 200th win when Norfolk State beat Howard over the weekend. A milestone for him, one of the great coaches in all of college basketball, not just in the black college circles. Fellas, I know there's been historically a lot of great black college basketball head coaches. With Coach Jones' 200 win, where does that kind of put him in the pantheon of coaches at the black college level, starting with Chris?
I think that right now he's the tops of the men. I mean, granted, Lavelle Moulton's body of work is phenomenal, so he could be considered the dean, like the top guy emeritus. I don't even know why I tried to say it, but
That's the word of the day now, not stakeholders.
Yeah. Now stakeholders, you're off the hook because I messed up emeritus. Good job. But yeah, I feel like Coach Jones has not only established himself as the lead dog, but he's also established himself as a person you want on your side of matters of importance, because we already talked about what happened at Illinois State, where you couldn't hear it, but you could see the argument, and he let off one of the most forceful tell you to go have fun with yourselves that I've ever seen, when he told that little Italian coach where he could go and how he could get there. So I mean, Coach Jones deserves a ton of credit for standing up for his players, and it was even doper that Norfolk State won that game. Because, I mean, if they had lost the game, it'd just been like, wow, the bitter black coach and his team were mad they lost. No, Norfolk State actually won that game. So Coach Jones right now, he's on a roll. His team is great. They've got to be the favorite to win the MEAC because they just beat the team that won the MEAC last year and had to come from double digits down and force overtime to do it. So I feel like Coach Jones is the lead, the best HBCU men's coach right now. There's still a lot of MEAC schedule left to play. There's still a lot of pitfalls out there, but right now I feel like he's the guy. No questions asked.
Jared, what say you?
Perspective is very important. And in this situation, it goes above and beyond for Coach Jones. People got to understand, they are without their top 4 scorers from last year, including Joe Bryant, who's, former tournament champion, former MEAC Player of the Year, and without Chris Bankston, who is, if you haven't seen, is still jumping out the gym overseas. So they have this young kid, Jamari Thomas from UNC Wilmington, who is leading the MEAC in scoring right now. And they have not missed a beat. And you got to credit Coach Jones and his system for them continuing to remain on top. This is a team that can very well win the MEAC again this season. And with all that they have lost in the past from last year, it's remarkable. And you have to credit him for what he has built at Norfolk State. He has turned them into, I don't want to overuse the word powerhouse, but he has them looking like a top tier basketball program who I'm excited to see what their ceiling is. But as far as where Coach Jones ranks all time, only time will tell. Right now he's giving himself a great case to be placed among that conversation with guys like Dave Robbins and, as Brandon may know, John McClendon and Vivian Stringer. He's making a case to be placed among those coaches.
Yeah, Brandon. Tennessee State has a very rich basketball history. A lot of really good basketball coaches during that time. Where would Coach Robert Jones and all the winning he's in at Norfolk State kind of rank among those coaches at Tennessee State and elsewhere in the history of black college basketball?
He's definitely working his way up that list, and even among some of the great coaches that we've had at Tennessee State University, he would be, right at that table amongst some of those stalwart coaches that we've had. And like I said, when you look at what he has done at Norfolk State, 200 wins, think that's not easy. You think about how many coaches come and go, even coaches that have levels of success, and they're fired for whatever reason, to be able to do what he's done and win how he's won. He's making, obviously he's already made a mark at Norfolk State. He's making a mark in the MEAC, but also in HBCU sports as a whole, and even among some of the great coaches that are in the MEAC right now. He's putting himself. You can't have that conversation of top current coaches in the MEAC and not mention Coach Jones, and he's still got a lot left in the tank, and he's going to continue, obviously, to go the way he's going and build a program, and we're, before it all said and done, he's going to potentially be amongst the GOATs all time if he continues on the path that he's on. I wonder now, if he continues winning, will it, be like in football whenever one of coaches start to win, these other programs, the HWCs will start sniffing around and kicking the tires. So my hope, and this is selfishly as an HBCU alum and someone who has an affinity for all things HBCUs, that none of these other HWCs try to swoop in and make him a Godfather offer, and that greatness is taken from amongst our ranks. So I'm glad just to be able to witness what he's done and what he's continuing to do, even among some of the current coaches that are there, because Coach Moulton and even what Coach Blakeney's doing. Blakeney, I'm sorry, it's Blakeney. Look, Chris, you got me mispronouncing stuff. I'm tongue-tied right now.
My bad. It's contagious.
It's a disease going on here, man.
At Howard, and I know we're going to get into what's going on at Delaware State, but yeah, Coach Jones is doing an amazing job, and I'm glad to be able to actually witness what's going on and what he's going to continue to do as his career continues to move forth. And there's the last thing I do want to say, because here, that thing with Illinois State, to me, as I looked at it one angle, that was a tremendous recruiting moment. Because if I have his son, I would not mind sending him to Norfolk State, winning aside, but I know that he's not only going to have his players back just as players, but then in that situation as young black males, he has got your back 100%. And if he comes and sits in my living room, knowing what I saw that day, that would, if I'm a parent, that would weigh a great deal on me in terms of turning my son over to a coach like that. So I did want to say that as well.
Yeah, it's glad you mentioned LaVale Moulton, North Carolina Central, one of the great coaches, not only just in the MEAC, but just in basketball in general. He's a who's who among coaches. He knows everybody. He knows LeBron. He knows a lot of NBA guys, like, really speak highly of him, despite the fact that in a lot of circumstances he never coached them before. So yeah, Black college basketball is blessed with a lot of great coaches. I'll be remiss if I didn't mention the women's coaches. Tamika Reed, the job she's done at Jackson State, she's read at a powerhouse there. Larry Vickers at Norfolk State, been able to recruit players like Diamond Johnson from the Power 5 level. They've gotten off to a really, really great start this season. Looks like they're going to be on the road again to repeat in the MEAC. But I want to throw this out there. On the women's side, Jackson State is currently the only undefeated team in the SWAC so far. Is there anybody on that side that can knock them off, at least in the regular season? I know Southern won the SWAC tournament last season. But is there anybody in the regular season who can challenge JSU?
I think the best two chances are probably Grambling and Arkansas Pine Bluff. Of course, we all know Arkansas Pine Bluff has Zay Green, who is getting as she should, WNBA interest. And that Pine Bluff team has beaten 2 PWIs this year. In fact, they beat Arkansas in Bud Walton Arena. can you name another time that two polar opposites? I mean, yeah, we've seen HBCUs go in and beat PWIs before, but when you think about how underfunded Pine Bluff is in comparison to Arkansas Fayetteville, how just the vast gulf, and for that, and for Coach Dawn Thornton's team to go in there, and they did. I mean, it wasn't like, it wasn't a fluky job. I mean, they went in there and they literally cut their lights and water off in the second half defensively. Arkansas only scored 24 points in the second half. So this Pine Bluff team is one of those teams that can challenge, and Grambling is one of those teams that, well, I mean, we don't like what they did to the Bible school, but they proved that they can get buckets. So, I mean, if there's two women's teams, that I would pick that could possibly give Jackson State some trouble in the tournament, it's Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Grambling.
Yeah, Jared, you're a big fan of the women's game. I know you think highly of Zay Green and the girls at Arkansas Pine Bluff. They have a shot. They're 3-1 right now in SWAC play. Can they knock off the juggernaut that is JSU?
Absolutely. I think, and we have to make this clear, UAPB is much more than just Zay Green. They also have Mallory Davenport, who is a dynamic big for them. And their coach, Dawn Thornton, she has created, we're going back to creating the culture. She has created a culture of success there at UAPB. And if not for Zay Green being injured last season, they possibly could have won the MEAC. Now, if it was a fifth, as Chris said, we'd all be drunk. But they made it to the SWAC championship game last year without Zay. So now they have Zay back, and she, just coming off of getting a triple-double, and you got Maury Davenport down low, doing what she does, and you got Kariah Beck also, who is also a pretty good scorer in the top 10 and scoring in the SWAC as well. So absolutely, they are loaded. So that I'm not sure, I'm not confident in saying who would win, but if we're talking about who is the biggest threat, absolutely it's UAPB.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the way Zay Green is playing, she had a triple-double this past weekend against FAMU. She's clearly going to be the front runner for SWAC Women's Player of the Year the season ended today. But I think, Jared, you're right. Like, they could definitely challenge Jackson State in the SWAC to take over the reins there. But before you get to our final segment, I want to highlight a spotlight game on the men's side tonight, and it is Texas Southern against Jackson State. Texas Southern is 3-2 in the SWAC. They're the perennial contenders for a SWAC championship. Jackson State has been coming on this season. A lot of impressive wins in non-conference play. Some over Division I powerhouses. A lot of good wins in non-conference play. They're 3-1. Who do you guys potentially see coming out on top in that one? Starting with Brandon.
I guess when you look at, and you just touched on it earlier, looking at some of the victories that Jackson State has had, moving as went through the non-conference portion of the season, and then even into the conference play. Coach Williams had said, I think during SWAC Media Day, that playing with confidence was a key element to his team's success, and they have been playing very confident basketball, has been as evident by the level of basketball that they've been playing, and I think they're more than equipped to beat Texas Southern. It's going to be a game that I'll definitely be watching. Obviously, with what Texas Southern has done over the past couple of years, it's a game I will be paying attention to see who's going to come out on top, and we'll just kind of have to sit back and see what happens. There's a lot of good basketball that's been played. Not only we touched on MEAC basketball, but also in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and so it's really good to see that over the past few years the level of players has elevated, the level of coaching has elevated. We've touched on even on the other side at Jackson State with Coach Reed and what Coach Williams has done on the men's side, and we can just go down the line. So there is some tremendous basketball that's being played, and I'm glad to see it. It just goes to show that we're starting to bring in a higher caliber of player, and it's leading to overall a better. I hate to use the word product on the floor, but it's leading to better play. So I'll definitely be tuned in to see what happens in that game.
Yeah, a lot of good spike basketball played tonight, and it's going to be played throughout the rest of the season. As always, throughout the Black College landscape, conferences are always decided by the slimmest of margins. There's never a kind of a runaway winner when it goes there. But the last topic I want to talk to you guys about is going to kind of be like off the beaten path, kind of like how we started the show. This past weekend, it was announced. I'm stick with Brandon on this one, that Tennessee State signed their first ever hockey recruit. Xavier Abel from Chicago. Shout out to the city. He is a 5'10", 155-pound forward. He comes from Drury University. He's an African American kid. Not only the first ever Tennessee State hockey recruit, but the first ever Black college hockey recruit ever. Tennessee State, as you know, is going to start a hockey program that's going to get underway, I believe, sometime this year as a club hockey team first, before they try to make the leap to NCAA Division One or program. But Brandon, so as a Tennessee State alum, what does this mean to have not only hockey at your school, but have the first ever recruit and soon to becoming the first ever coach as part of the program?
Well, it kind of makes it. We had the announcement and everything, and we covered it here. But once you start putting players in pads, once you start recruiting them, it makes it even more real. I know that there are some people out there who, well, why are we starting hockey and all that? Look, it's too late for that at this point, okay? Because they're putting on skates right now. So it's what's done is done at that standpoint. So to see it happening, to kind of break new ground in that area is exciting. Whether you think that maybe we should have restarted baseball or whatever the case may be, it has generated a lot of buzz, a lot of talk in terms of people seem to from the people that I've talked to are going to at least initially support the program. It's going to have that element of never seen before. And look, a lot of people just want them jerseys. That's a lot of people want to get their hands on those. Yours truly included. But it's a great thing to see that this is going to be the first hockey program, and it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to grow, develop, and evolve. Not only on the men's side, but also they're going to look to get in on the women's side as well. They did, of course, secure their first ever director of hockey operations. Shout out to Mr. Guerriero. Shout out to you. And so they're going to be moving forth, and in terms of having a hockey coach that's going to be in place in the not too distant future. And then once you have that, then obviously you can really ramp up your recruiting. And just like we talked about when we first broke the story, they've already got, for lack of a better term, feeder programs who are looking to send young Black hockey players to Tennessee State in terms of a pipeline. So getting these things in place and developing those partnerships to get those players in, because that's obviously going to be a challenge, because there's not necessarily an abundance of hockey being played in Tennessee or in the South as well. So they've got to be able to develop those pipelines to get players in, to be able to go look at players. So as they go forward with this, it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to develop. I'll be watching and of course providing my commentary, but it's kind of exciting to kind of be on the cutting edge of new grounds in terms of the HBCU sporting diaspora.
Yeah, and y'all see the question I got at the bottom of the screen, right? I ain't gonna speak for all black people, but black people don't support no hockey like that, man. They don't. They just don't. Especially not in the South. I'm from Chicago. A lot of people support the Blackhawks. By people, I mean like not black people. When they went on that little Stanley Cup run there, in the mid 2000s, there was some black interest in the hockey team from their standpoint, but like we want to support them because they were winning, not because they were like diehard Blackhawks fans. But Chris, as our hockey expert and big time hockey fan on this program, how much support do you think black folks are going to give Tennessee State hockey?
Well, I do want to, give Tennessee State some encouragement in this vein that Bowling Green University, yes, that very Bowling Green in Kentucky, has had a very successful NCAA hockey program for many a year. So there's a chance that, and of course, Tennessee and Kentucky are not that far apart, obviously. So, Tennessee State has that working for them. As far as getting our good brothers and sisters out to support Tennessee State hockey, it's really going to take a concerted effort from the director of hockey operations, the AD, the coaches, the staff. You're really going to have to market this in a way that you wouldn't market another sport. Like you don't need, football and basketball. We take those sports for granted, obviously, with the publicity that they get. But it's going to be important that you get Eddie George to drop the puck at the first game. You get another famous Tennessee State alum maybe to do like a rally cry. Like shoot, Oprah's selling all kind of stuff right now. Color Purple's hot. She's got this formula popping or whatever. Reach out to Oprah and see if she'll come to a game or something. So Tennessee State really has to think of this as, as Brandon said, being on the cutting edge, and that includes, promoting and marketing and doing all of that other stuff, to make sure that, and as Ken Rashad, our esteemed publisher, just said, if hockey is going to work for Tennessee State, they'll need to support from the national community at large. And that's why it's very important that the resident hockey team in the Music City, of course, that is the Nashville Predators, partners up with Tennessee State to make sure that team does get the men's and women's team get the proper promotion so that people can come out and say, okay, yeah, hockey's a really cool sport. Like me and my boys, we played hockey, street hockey when we were in 5th and 6th grade. Like my first hockey experience was playing goalie because they didn't trust me to play anything else. But it turned out I was so good at it. It was like, aha, I got you. But, hockey's always been a great sport. Something I've always enjoyed. And, if we can just get more people to try new things, like hockey, then I'm sure, folks will really enjoy the sport. So Tennessee State's got their work cut out for them, but it's not an impossible task.
So, Jared, if hockey attendance lags at Tennessee State, is Eddie George going to make a statement asking, do people care about hockey?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Shoot. I don't know what the capacity is for the Tennessee State hockey rink. So I don't know, man. Maybe he'll look for 500 and then you only get 499. He gonna blow a gasket. Shoot. Shoot, nah, but in all seriousness, like hockey is one of those sports that I know little to nothing about. But in another life, I work somewhere where I have attended hockey games. And if there's one thing about hockey environments, and I'm pretty sure Chris can attest to this, there's nothing like it.
Yes.
There's nothing like an environment. I'm even talking about bad hockey teams. You don't know the difference between a good and a bad hockey team. because they're just excited to be there. They're excited to cheer on the team. There's no bandwagonism in hockey. And this is my limited knowledge of hockey. But what I do know is there's no bandwagonism when it comes to hockey fans. They are there to support the team that they are a fan of. So if they are able to get that fan base, and I'm not sure what, the tennis, I'm not even sure what any hockey fan base is really like, honestly. But if that Tennessee state, and I'm talking about the actually state of Tennessee, if they are able to rally around what Tennessee State is doing with their hockey program, this is going to be something special. And it's going to be a way to educate, people who are maybe there's a community in the HB. Maybe there's a community among us that loves hockey, who know a lot about hockey and actually watch it on a daily basis. Who knows? But this is a way to educate the people who are not very knowledgeable on hockey and possibly get them to become a fan of it. If they are,
and we got to put Stephen Campbell in timeout, man.
That's funny.
Jeez, man.
Stephen Campbell, you've been on it in them comments, buddy. You've been on it. But yeah, this is a great opportunity for Tennessee State. I hope it goes well for them.
Remember years ago when an NHL team called the Thrashers in one of the blackest cities in America?
Atlanta, yep.
Yeah, Atlanta. They moved that joint to Winnipeg, one of the whitest cities on earth.
And you know what's funny? There's actually a group of people that is trying to get the NHL back in Atlanta, well, more so Cobb County. They build a rink in Cobb County where, Truist Park is, of course, where the Braves play. So, yeah, there's actually a group trying to bring hockey back to Atlanta for the third time, because this would be the third time the NHL was in Atlanta. The Calgary Flames actually started out in Atlanta. Quick hockey lesson here, because, of course, I am a resident hockey historian. The Atlanta Flames started in 1972, moved to Calgary in 1980. The Atlanta Thrashers came around in 1999, and neither one of those opportunities went well. So whoever is behind this third attempt to get the NHL into A-Town, to quote Joseph Antonio Cartagena, God bless.
Can I just address something real quick? There's somebody in the comments that said hockey is basically soccer on ice. Do you know how many sports have piggyback off of soccer? Water polo is basically soccer in the pool. Handball is basically soccer, but you're using your hands. Like, you know how many sports, and that's just two. There's so many sports that have piggybacked off of soccer. Heck, rugby and football are almost the same thing. They almost piggybacked off each other. They just remixed it. There's so many sports that pull from other sports. Baseball and cricket are almost the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that I really find interesting, is how many sports, piggyback off of each other. So I just wanted to highlight that comment, because I find stuff like that so interesting.
Yeah, we should do a show from the first Tennessee State hockey game. We see what the atmosphere like. See how many of us gonna be there opposed to them. I want to see how that goes, man. Brandon, hook us up, man.
I see what I can do. Look, they just started returning my emails this year, so.
Okay.
You gotta love it.
Yeah, man. Hockey, I really want to see that. I really want to see how it goes. It's going to be a really great experiment. But hopefully, people in Nashville and the surrounding area will support it. It's definitely going to be something unique, something we haven't seen ever in Black college sports. We're probably going to make Chris our PK Supan of the show. Give us hockey updates, deep scouting reports on different hockey teams around the country. That Dartmouth Tennessee State game was a thriller, wasn't it? I mean, you up in Delaware, man. Boston College is big up there for hockey. Boston U big up there.
Shoot, University of Delaware men's and women's teams is rolling right now. So yeah, maybe I can use some pull and get Tennessee State to visit on the schedule one day. We'll see.
Yeah, but it should be fun though. But that's gonna do it for us this afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all the comments, especially Stephen Campbell. He kind of stole the show in the comment section today. Feel free to come back again. We'll have a show next time. We might invite you on, like chop it up with us if you want to do that. Yeah, but it was a good show today, fellas. We talked bowling and hockey. Not something we do every day on this show. I'm kind of glad we did that. Kind of break up all the talk about football. I'll talk about football.
Yo, look at that last comment. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, hockey fights, man. Do they fight in college hockey? Is it allowed in college hockey?
No, they don't.
Man.
People actually get suspended for those. I mean, it's only in professional hockey where you get to throw down, honestly.
The thing I learned about like understanding fighting in pro hockey is that like those things are orchestrated. Like the two combatants actually like agree beforehand to fight each other.
Yeah, it's like wrestling basically.
Yeah, I mean like one guy goes up and says, "Hey, you want to fight?" Other guy goes, "Hey, we can fight," and they just fight. And nobody calls them thugs or
That's
hoodlums,
crazy.
or that's what their parents are.
Yeah, good point.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but thanks again for joining us. I'm Kendrick, hockey expert Chris Stevens, co-hockey expert Brandon King, and interim Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M AD Jared Hoffman. Catch y'all on the other side. Thanks for joining us.